Picture the very first human. He has just figured out fire. He has not yet figured out shoes, soap, or the concept of a Tuesday. His entire daily schedule is simple: don't get eaten, find food, and then don't get eaten again. And somewhere in this beautiful chaos, one ancestor spotted a suspicious glowing mushroom lying there on the forest floor. And he thought the most human thought ever: I wonder what happens if I eat that. Spoiler alert, a lot happened. Here is the uncomfortable truth your history teacher politely skipped. Long before humans invented writing, long before we invented money, long before we even had the wheel, we were already getting absolutely cross-eyed off the local plant life. So the real question is not whether ancient humans took drugs at all. It is how embarrassingly early they started. Let's go back, way, way back. First, we need to talk about monkeys. Yes, monkeys. Long before anything we call human existed, our distant primate relatives were already snacking on overripe fruit fallen on the ground. Fruit that had fermented in the hot sun. And fermented fruit means alcohol. So technically, the very first creature in our family tree to catch a buzz was a fuzzy little primate. He wobbled right out of a tree, fully convinced that he could fly. He could not. But the dream was alive, and so was the tradition. Some scientists actually take this seriously. They call it the drunken monkey idea. It suggests our ancestors evolved to enjoy the smell of fermentation, because that smell pointed them toward ripe food. In other words, we may be wired to enjoy a little tipple, because long, long ago, getting slightly sloshed helped us find dinner. Evolution gave us a big brain. It gave us a built-in happy hour. You are very welcome. Now fast forward to actual ancient humans, and here is where it gets strange. Meet the Neanderthals. The classic stereotype is a grunting caveman, basically a confused gym bro in fur. But the reality? These guys may have been the original wellness influencers. At a place called Shanidar Cave deep in the mountains of modern Iraq, archaeologists found a Neanderthal burial. It was surrounded by ancient flower pollen from plants like yarrow and chamomile. And here is the real kicker. Those are not random weeds. They are mild sedatives, calming plants, the kind of thing you find today in a fancy, overpriced relaxation tea. This burial may be incredibly old, up to 70,000 years old. 70,000 years. That means before humans had villages, before we had any farming, before we had literally anything at all, a Neanderthal may have been buried with a prehistoric relaxation gift basket. Now, time for a quick fairness check, because here we really love our facts. Some scientists think that pollen was actually dropped by burrowing bees thousands of years after the burial, not lovingly placed by mourning cavemen. So maybe it was not a spa funeral. Maybe it was just bees being messy. But even the boring explanation is funny. It means the bees were also completely into the calming plants. Nobody in this story is sober. And it honestly gets even better. At another Neanderthal site, scientists found a burial with ephedra. Ephedra is a powerful stimulant. It revs your whole body up, so picture the full Neanderthal medicine cabinet. Chamomile, to gently wind you down. Ephedra, to power you right back up. These so-called dumb cavemen had figured out uppers and downers before they figured out the concept of a roof. Honestly, give them a tiny apron and they could open a smoothie bar. Okay, but let's talk hard evidence, the kind you can actually dig up. For that, we travel to Morocco, to a cave with a very glamorous name, the Grotte des Pigeons. That translates to the Cave of Pigeons, because even the cave was unimpressed with itself. Inside this cave, in a burial pit, around 15,000 years old, researchers found seed cones from ephedra, that very same stimulant, yet again. And this is some of the earliest solid evidence we actually have of humans deliberately using a plant as a drug, not eating it by accident, not just tripping over it, but choosing it, collecting it, treating it carefully, like medicine. 15,000 years ago, somebody in that cave was basically the village pharmacist, except the pharmacy was a hole in the ground and the loyalty card just said, "Don't die." Now let me paint you a real picture, one that is 100% true. There is a place in the Sahara Desert called Tassili and Ajay in modern Algeria. Today, it is just endless sand and heat that makes you question your decisions. But thousands of years ago, it was green. Rivers, grass, open savanna, the works. And on the rock walls of this paradise, prehistoric people painted thousands of images: animals, hunters, scenes of daily life. But one single painting is the one everyone whispers about. It is around 9,000 years old. It shows a human like figure, a shaman, running or maybe dancing wildly, and sprouting out of his entire body, out of his arms, out of his legs, out of his head, are dozens of mushrooms. Mushrooms growing right out of a guy in a painting from 9,000 years ago. A lot of researchers look at this and go, yeah, that is a person on magic mushrooms, and he is having the time of his life. It may be the oldest known artwork on Earth showing a human getting absolutely launched into another dimension by a fungus. Our ancestors had no cameras to capture it, so one of them just grabbed some pigment and painted the world's first festival poster right onto the side of a cliff. Now, the responsible part of me must say it. Other researchers look at the same painting and calmly suggest something else entirely. Actually, those might just be sheep. And I respect the science, I really do. But understand the two options here. Option 1, a sacred spiritual journey painted by a wise prehistoric mystic. Option 2, a man covered in sheep. There is no boring version of this painting. Both of them are completely incredible. And we are honestly just getting started. Because all around the world, ancient people were clearly all in. In the Philippines, on Palawan Island, archaeologists explored an ancient cave. They found human teeth stained deep red. That stain is the unmistakable signature of chewing a plant called betel, a mild stimulant still chewed today. And these stained teeth go back thousands of years. So somewhere out there is a prehistoric human whose dentist, if dentist had existed, would have looked in his mouth and just sighed. Now here is what is truly beautiful about this. None of these people were idiots. We picture cavemen as drooling simpletons, but think about what they actually accomplished. With no labs, with no books, with no internet, and with absolutely no one to ask, early humans tested the plants around them. They learned which ones healed a wound, which ones calmed a rising panic, which ones woke them up for the hunt, and which ones made the cave walls talk. They did all of this by pure trial and error. Which is a very polite way of saying a lot of them found out the hard way. Which mushrooms are the deadly kind, the you will not be coming back kind. Every plant they truly understood was paid for by a brave, doomed ancestor who proudly volunteered as the test subject. So in a strange way, every herbal medicine, every soothing cup of tea, every traditional remedy on Earth traces back to one prehistoric human who looked at a mystery plant and said the magic words, "I'll try it first." So, when did ancient humans start taking drugs? The honest answer is almost embarrassing. Pretty much the moment they had free time and, well, a functioning mouth. Before farming, before cities, before writing, before we built a single permanent thing, we were already chewing, brewing, and occasionally hallucinating through the wilderness. So next time someone tells you to respect your wise, dignified ancestors, you absolutely should. You really should. Just remember, those same dignified ancestors invented herbal medicine, they invented the world's first hangover, all in the same enthusiastic weekend. And honestly, looking at that painting of the Mushroom Man, covered head to toe, dancing across a cliff 9,000 years ago, I think they would want it exactly that way.